This audio program can change your life. You're about to meet one of North America's leading financial experts and educators, author and financial coach, David Bach. David is the #1 New York Times best-selling author of The Automatic Millionaire, as well as the national bestsellers Smart Women Finish Rich, Smart Couples Finish Rich, The Finish Rich Workbook, and his latest blockbuster, Start Late, Finish Rich. Nearly 3 million books are in print. In this program, you'll learn David's simple steps which, regardless of income level, will help you live and finish rich. David speaks to hundreds of thousands of men and women each year. His Finish Rich seminars are the leading financial seminars in North America, having been taught to more than 1 million students in over 2,000 cities. He's a regular on television and radio. David is recognized around the world as the money coach who simplifies finance and gets you to take action. David Bach's experience comes from real-world practice. Before founding his financial education company, Finish Rich Incorporated, David was a senior vice president of Morgan Stanley and a partner of the Bach Group, which managed more than $500 million of individual investors' assets. David credits his grandmother, Rose Bach, for teaching him about money and inspiring him to teach others. She helped him buy his first stock at age 7. With all his accomplishments, David is proudest of his new baby, Jack Davis Bach, whom he's raising in New York with his wife, Michelle. And now, in this exclusive interview, David shares his sought-after and highly effective advice. You'll learn how to maximize your financial potential with surprisingly easy steps that don't require budgeting, getting a new job, or reinventing the wheel. No matter what your age or economic status, your path to finishing rich is simpler than you think. Start smart, finish rich.
David, thanks for joining us. You're one of the most prolific and successful financial experts out there. You've helped millions around the world on their paths to becoming automatic millionaires. For anyone who hasn't read The Automatic Millionaire or your other books, tell us what inspired you to write them, and more importantly, how does one reach the status of being an automatic millionaire?
Well, first of all, thank you. I'm excited to share with you the story of The Automatic Millionaire because it's a true story. The Automatic Millionaire is a book that is based on a couple that I met very early in my career as a financial advisor. I was a financial advisor for nearly a decade. And I was blessed because I met this couple right in the beginning of my career. And to tell you the truth, they completely changed my life. Jim and Sue McIntyre came into my office after taking one of my investment classes. They came up to me at the end of my investment class and they said, "David, we want to come into your office and talk to you about retiring." And I said, "Well, how old are you?" And Jim said, "I'm 52. I said, "Well, okay, great. Come on into my office and we'll see what we can do." Well, when they came into my office, I have to be honest with you, I really prejudged them. Jim did not look like he was somebody who at 52 could retire. He did not look wealthy. In fact, he wore a short-sleeve dress shirt. Not that there's anything wrong with that. He had a pocket protector. Well, there's something wrong with that. But no, seriously, he just didn't look like a wealthy person. In fact, I would say he looked, I'd say he looked middle class. They kind of looked lower middle class. I mean, very nice people, but they didn't look wealthy. Now, again, I was naive and quite honestly, now I look back on it, ignorant because I judged them by the way they looked. I would never do that today. But when I sat down and went through their finances and they showed me their situation, it blew me away because Jim and Sue McIntyre had nearly $2 million. Now, here's how the money broke down. First of all, they owned 2 homes free and clear. One home they lived in worth about $450,000, and they had no debt. Then they owned a second home, a rental property that had originally been their first home. They paid it off and put a renter in, and that home was worth over $325,000. But then there was more. I started going through their investment accounts. He had over $610,000 in his 401k plan. Sue had 2 IRA accounts, $72,000. They had $160,000 in savings in municipal bonds, and they had over $62,500 in cash. And in total, they had a net worth approaching, again, nearly $2 million. Now, why is that a big deal? Well, first of all, that year on their tax returns, they had earned a little over $53,000. Their income over their lifetime had averaged about $35,000 a year. So again, this was not a couple who had made a lot of money during their lifetime, but what they had done is do a great job with saving. And so I asked them, because I was so blown away, how in the world did you do this? First question I said is, did you inherit it? To which they laughed. I said, no, Dave, we didn't inherit it. And then they proceeded to share with me exactly what they did. They shared with me how they put their financial plan on autopilot. And when they share with me their story, I got to tell you something. I was honestly pretty angry, frustrated. I was mad because here I was at an age in my early 20s making a lot more money than they were making, and I'm living paycheck to paycheck, and I'm the financial advisor. And here they are, middle Americans, and they've really become the millionaire next door. But I did something that changed my life. I shut up and I said, you guys have got to tell me your story. I want to know exactly how you did what you did. And they laid it out for me. And the next day, I changed my life. And I put in place the exact same plan they did. And by the time I was 30, I was a millionaire. And by the time I was 35, I was a multimillionaire. And the Automatic Millionaire book is just their story and how you can do exactly what they did by setting up your plan on autopilot in less than 60 minutes. And that's a lot of what I'm going to share with you today is how you can do what the McIntyres did and then some.
Wow, David, truly an incredible story. Tell me, I understand that you can tell in 5 minutes with 90% certainty if somebody will become a millionaire by asking them 5 simple questions. What's question number 1?
You've got it. It's really simple. Do you want to be rich? Now, I get in front of audiences all the time. I just did a seminar the other day with 7,000 people in the room. And I looked at the room and I said, do you want to be rich? And of course, 7,000 hands went up in the air and said yes. And then I asked really what I call the $1 million question, which is why? Why do you want to be rich? But the real question behind the question, as they say, is why? What I've learned is this. Even though my books are all about finishing rich, they're really about living rich. What I've learned is that you'll do more to reach your values than you will just to reach money. See, if you say, I just want to have a fancy car, I want to have a new home, or I want to have $1 million in the bank, most people will give up on the amount of work it takes to actually achieve that. Because money ultimately is not a driving motivator. It's not a driving motivator that lasts. What I've found is that what lasts is your values. If you said, you know what, David, why I want to be rich is this. I want to send my kids to good schools. I want my kids to go to a great college and have a wonderful education because I want them to have a better life than me. You'll do what it takes to earn the money to pay for that. If you say, I want to have a home, I want to pay that home off because I don't want to have to work by the time I reach age 60. I want to be able to do what I want to do when I want to do it. I want to focus my life's energy on giving back to my community or charity. Or I'm an artist. I really want to paint. I don't want to go to this boring 40-hour-a-week job. When you're clear on why you want to be rich, you can overcome any hurdle to make it happen. And so that's question number 1. And once we help people get clear on why, again, people become unstoppable.
All right, so the first of those all-important 5 questions is, do you want to be rich and why? What's the second one?
The second question is really simple, but it's basically the answer to everything. Do you pay yourself first? Those words, do you pay yourself first, will determine permanently and forever whether or not you'll have financial security. Unfortunately, most people today are not paying themselves first.
So, David, what exactly does that mean, pay yourself first?
When you earn a paycheck, the first person who should be paid is you. Literally, you're the first person who should be getting a piece of your paycheck. Unfortunately, right now, that's not what's happening. What's happening right now when you earn a paycheck, in most cases, almost all, is that the federal government is pulling money out of your paycheck away from you for federal taxes and state tax. And then whatever's left over, about 60 cents on the dollar, people use to pay their bills. So they pay their mortgage or they pay their rent, they pay their credit card bills, they pay their utilities, they pay their car phone, they pay their dry cleaning, they pay their food. And by the time they get to the end of the month, there's nothing left over. The reason there's nothing left over is you've been given bad information. You've been given bad advice. You've been told to budget. And we've seen for a fact that budgeting doesn't work. Budgeting has never worked. So here's what you want to do. You want to learn from the government. The government figured out how to get the money from you. What they figured out is that the way to get your money was not to get you to budget, but it was to take it from you automatically. So you don't have a choice. When you get your paycheck, just look at it next time. The money's already been taken away from you automatically. The government started doing that in 1943. Then corporate America started doing that about 20 years ago. When you go to join a gym, the first thing they do is they get you to sign up for what's called debit withdrawal, where they pull money out of your checking account or out of your credit card automatically. Well, the secret is to do what the government and corporate America does. You're going to pay yourself first. How much? 1 hour a day of your income. So, for instance, if you're working a 40-hour work week, and I don't care if you're making minimum wage or $100 an hour, 1 hour a day of your income gets paid right to you first, taken right off the top, and that needs to go into what we call a deductible retirement account. And that's because the only way to pay yourself first legally to avoid taxes is to use a deductible retirement account, like a 401k plan or an IRA account or a self-employed retirement account. If you use one of these accounts, paying yourself first and doing it completely automatic, so the money's moved from your paycheck directly to your retirement account automatically, you cannot fail. You have set yourself up for success.
Well, David, no offense, but I bet a lot of people out there listening to this are thinking, there is no way I could ever pay myself first.
We hear it all the time. I mean, a great story that I share in Smart Women Finish Rich is a story about the Latte Factor. The Latte Factor is a simple idea that we all waste small amounts of money on little things. And the way it came to be is that a young woman named Kim said to me at one of my seminars, she said, David, I don't make enough money to pay myself first. I'm making $35,000 a year. I'm living paycheck to paycheck. Where do you expect me to find this money? And we started going through expenses, and we looked at the fact that every morning before she went to work, she stopped at Starbucks and she had a cup of coffee, and that latte was costing her $3.50, and her muffin was $1.50, and that was $5. And we started adding up all of her little expenses, not the fact that she ate lunch out and dinner out and all the other things she should, just the little things. And I said, Kim, you know what if you saved $5 a day? You're in your early 20s. If you realize if you saved $5 a day, you paid yourself first, you did this automatically, you could have over $1 million nest egg by the time you retired. In fact, in her case, it was like $1.7 million. And Kim said, David, are you trying to tell me my lattes are costing me $1 million over my lifetime? $1.7 million? And the whole room turned to her and said, yeah, Kim, that's exactly what he's telling you. Now, the thing is, some people get frustrated. They might be listening right now and they go, well, I don't even drink coffee. The Latte Factor is a metaphor. It's not about the coffee. It could be bottled water. It could be cigarettes. I don't know what you're spending small amounts of money on. It could be that $100 a month cell phone bill that you got. Small amounts of money add up, because if you can make a little extra money each month and save just a piece of it, you can build financial security and you can truly live and finish rich.
Okay, so that's your third question. Do you know what your Latte Factor is? Now, how do you determine your Latte Factor?
Finding your Latte Factor is incredibly simple. Here's what you do. Starting tomorrow, take my Latte Factor challenge. For 1 day, just 1 day, track where you spend all of your money. People go, David, does that include cash? Yes, cash is included. Credit cards, checks, everything. Just 1 day, track your expenses and see if it surprises you. We have received, literally, no exaggeration, thousands and thousands of letters from all over the world from people just this year who have tracked their Latte Factor and been so surprised by what they saw that it completely changed the way they spent money and motivated them to start paying themselves first.
So what's the next question you ask people? We've gotten 3 so far. What's the 4th?
If you're a renter, you're going to hate this question. Question number 4 is, do you rent or are you a homeowner? I just have to share it with you because it's so important. Here's what we know for a fact. Renters stay poor and homeowners get rich. In North America, the average renter is worth less than $5,000. The average homeowner now is worth over $171,000, which is closer to 34 times more than a renter. Now that's an enormous gap. Why are homeowners so much wealthier than renters? It's really simple. Right now, if you're renting, you are making your landlord rich. The only way for you to really get in the game of building wealth is you have got to buy a home. Now, people go, but there's no way I could buy a home. And that's just absolutely false. My experience is that most people who rent can actually afford to buy a home. And the thing that keeps people from buying a home is thinking they need a large down payment, which is simply not true, because today there are many new developers that are financing the entire purchase of the home for you. And there are many banks that are offering first-time mortgages for homeowners where you only need 3% down or maybe 5% down maximum to get into your first home. So You need to focus on buying a home. That is absolutely critical. And that's question number 4. Do you rent or do you own?
And the fifth and final question?
The fifth question is, do you have control over your income? Do you have the ability, if you want today, to go make more money than you're currently making? That's a really tough question for people because many people really don't have control over their income. You may be in a situation where if you work really hard, at the end of the year, you're going to get a 2% raise. That's the deal you've got with your employer or your union. And at the same point, if that person doesn't work really hard, they're still going to get a 2% raise. So they're not paid for performance, they're paid for duration. Well, I started realizing, especially with baby boomers, this system isn't going to work because for baby boomers, if they're over the age of 40 and they're behind on their saving, they've got to catch up. Well, yes, you can save more money and yes, you can try and spend less. But ultimately, the way to do it faster, the way to start late and finish rich, is to earn more. And so what you need is a way to grow your income. Because if you don't have control over your income, someone else does. And that means somebody else has control over your future. If you can keep your job and figure out how to grow your income, you're unstoppable.
But how can anyone grow their income if they're already working, say, 9 to 5?
It's a really good question, especially since most people are not working 9 to 5. Most people are working more like 8 to 6. What can you do? How can you grow your income without quitting your job? How can you start a business without quitting your job? When I went to write my new book, Start Late, Finish Rich, I asked myself, how can we help people earn more money? What do we need to look at? What are things that baby boomers, but even people younger than them, people in their 20s and their 30s and their 40s, what are things that all of us can do to grow our income? And I looked at a lot of things. I looked at the franchising industry. I looked at the internet. I looked at eBay. And then I came across direct selling. I started doing my research in direct selling. I started going, wow, you know what? It's a legitimate industry, and it's an industry that can really help people earn more money without quitting their jobs. They don't have to give up their job to go make more money. That's what got me excited about the direct selling industry. And that's why I did a whole section on the direct selling industry in this new book, Start Late, Finish Rich.
If I were somebody wanting to realistically build toward wealth, how would the direct selling method of distributing products and services help me?
Good question. A direct selling business is a home-based business that can make you $300 a month, $500 a month, $1,000 a month. The upside's unlimited, but let's just pretend it's $500 a month extra. Now, that might not sound like a lot of money to some people, but let me tell you something. That's a lot of extra money. Even if it was only $300 a month, what you're talking about is basically an extra $10 a day. Well, you know what? Over the year, that's an extra $3,600. And what gets me excited about this is that with a small amount of your time, you're able to get up and started in a business that can quickly bring you extra money. And you can get into the direct selling business with a very low investment. It's a fast way to make more money. Maybe not a lot more money fast, but it will help you make more money. And that means you've got more money to save. And what that means is that you can then accelerate your Finish Rich plan. You know, when I talk about saving $5 a day, it could take you 40 years to save $1 million. But guess what? If we can increase what you can make, we might be able to get you to finish rich in 10, 15, or 20 years.
How exactly is this working? You're telling somebody they're going to make an extra $500 a month and somehow become a millionaire.
Okay, well, this is not an overnight thing. That's why I get excited about the direct selling business. Let's just take a look at this. If you're an average American worker and you make $36,000 a year, if you were able to add an extra $500 a month to that amount of money, that's like a 16% increase. If you earned $1,000 extra a month, that's a 33% increase. That's increasing your income by a third. Now, what if you just saved a quarter of that? Well, if you're starting late, it would allow you to catch up on your retirement savings. What if you're starting young? What if you're listening right now and you're in your 20s or your 30s? Realistically, that extra income, provided you saved some of it, you paid yourself first automatically, would allow you to retire probably 10 years sooner, maybe 15 years sooner, maybe 20 years sooner. Well, that's not a small thing. That's called buying your freedom early. I think that's a really big thing. That's a lot of extra money for some of you listening to this audio tape right now. The Automatic Millionaire doesn't say you snap your finger and you become an automatic millionaire. What it says is this is how you build wealth over your lifetime. So let's work with $500 a month. If you were able to pay yourself first, $500 a month, because you now have extra income. You're making more money. I call this momentum money. And you paid yourself first and you saved that money. What would it add up to? Well, in 15 years, depending on the rate of return of interest, let's use 10%, which is what the stock market's averaged for over 75 years, you'd have over $200,000 in savings. In fact, $207,000 to be exact. What about 20 years? Well, you'd almost double it. You'd have $379,000 in savings. What about in 25 years? In 25 years, you've got now in excess of $660,000 in savings. Now, again, we're only talking about $500 a month. Remember, that's just a little bit over $10 a day that you're now earning a little extra money by doing a little extra work on the side with a home-based business, a direct selling business. The secret to this is to realize $500 a month is huge when you get momentum behind it. And that's why I call it momentum money. It's the extra money that you now have to pay yourself first automatically. And for those of you who say, well, it's not enough, then great. You'll work a little harder on your home-based business and you get upwards of $1,000 a month or more. The nice thing about it is you have control over your income. It's not your boss having control over your income.
I like that concept, momentum money. But how does direct selling work?
Well, direct selling looks at what's working today and what's not working. So let's talk about what's really not working. What's become incredibly difficult today is for a company to reach you or me. If you're a company and you want to sell me your product or your service, how do you do it? Well, realistically, you have to spend millions, in some cases, hundreds of millions of dollars a year to find me. Why? Because I'm so busy. You've got to run ads on the internet, banner ads. You've got to spend money on radio. You need to spend money on television. You need to spend money on print. And still, you might not reach me. So what direct selling does is it looks at that formula, but it says, what's the best way to reach people? And the answer has always been the best way to reach me is to be my friend. It's to be someone that I know, that I trust. It shows me a product or service where I go, oh, that's interesting. Maybe I should check that out. And so what direct selling does is it trains distributors or consultants to share the message of their product or their service. And how do they do that? Many cases, they throw parties. Or maybe they have an in-house product demonstration. Or they go over to someone's house and they share the product or the service. Or they just sit down with a friend or a family member and they say face-to-face, hey, check this out. This is what I'm using. This is what I like, and here's why. It's sharing with somebody something that you love, something that you're using, something that you believe in, and showing how it might add value to their life.
How do you get into direct selling, and what does it take to start?
Well, see, this is what I thought was interesting about direct selling. When I looked into franchising, for example, if you want to go and open a franchise like a Subway or a McDonald's or a yogurt shop, it costs a lot of money. It can cost $50,000 or more to open a franchise. In some cases, you need $1 million to go buy a franchise. And if you want to start a business on your own, you have to have a business plan and a marketing plan, and then you got to figure out what product or service you're creating and how you're going to sell it. All these things that you have to do. With direct selling, the average cost to get into a direct selling business is very low. It's $137. Now, in some cases, it's a little bit higher than that, or maybe it's a little bit lower. But on average, it's $137. And you're now in the industry, the direct selling business, and you're set up, and you're able to go share with somebody else the product or service that you're passionate about.
But David, seriously, direct selling? My friends would never let me live this down.
Well, you know what? Some of my friends probably won't ever let me live this down either. I have been a complete skeptic of this industry for the last 20 years. And I tell that in my book, Start Late, Finish Rich. I was dragged to a bad meeting when I was in college. And I was offered a ridiculous product to sell and saw the person with the bad suit and the pinky ring, and I just ran out of the room and I never went back. And for 20 years, I avoided this industry. And then one day I came across an article about Warren Buffett. And I saw that Warren Buffett, who, if you don't know who Warren Buffett is, you've been pretty much asleep at the wheel. But Warren Buffett's the wealthiest person in America other than Bill Gates. And what I started seeing is that Warren Buffett was investing in the direct selling industry, that he was buying direct selling companies. When I saw that, I went, whoa. If Warren Buffett's investing in direct selling companies, I got to change my attitude here. I got to relook at this industry and figure out if there's something legitimate here. Because Warren Buffett buys companies that make a lot of money, that do a lot of good. When I started checking it out, quite frankly, I was blown away to see not only how big this industry is, how much money is in this industry and how many companies already all over the globe are involved in this industry. Here's some examples. Time Inc., Berkshire Hathaway, that's Warren Buffett's company, Citigroup, Sara Lee, The Body Shop, Nestle, Remington Industries, Bertelsmann, Unilever, and Lillian Vernon, just to mention a few major players. All use direct selling as one way to reach consumers, to reach you and me.
Well, David, it's said that a person should expect to invest several years to build a new business from scratch. How can people in direct selling realistically expect to make any money at first?
You know what? It's tough to start your own business. When you start your own business, you need to know what it is you're selling. You need to create the product. You need to market the product. You need a business plan. You need employees. The beauty of direct selling, it's all done for you. The direct selling industry's already done everything. There isn't any real startup time. You don't have to create a business plan. You don't have to create a product. The only thing you need to do is your homework. You need to find a reputable company. You need to find a company that you trust, that has a track record, that you believe in its product or service, something that you can get passionate about. Then once you find that company, once you've done your due diligence, the beautiful thing is the infrastructure is already there for you. They've already got the business plan in place. They're able to provide you with a turnkey system to get up and running. The back end of the business is handled so that you're able to focus on what you need to do, which really is sharing your message about the product or service with other people. Most of these companies offer extensive training, and that training can include personal mentoring. It can include convenient audio programs. You're listening to an audio program right now, so that you can sometimes do this in your car on the way to work. It includes video presentations. You can put the video in at night instead of watching the television show on how to date a millionaire. You can learn at home while you've got time, or you can learn in the car while you're on your way to work. Bottom line is this: there's training, there's products, there's services. It's all done for you. You don't have to go and reinvent the wheel. And that shrinks your startup time from what can be years of failing to starting from day one, ready to go.
Do you need a lot of experience to get into direct selling?
Well, I think it's a really good question, and it's important to address that. What holds a lot of people back from doing anything in life is that people go, well, I don't have any experience in it, so I guess I can't do it. I mean, let me tell you something. I had no experience in writing a book before I wrote a book. Okay, I had no experience in doing an audio program before I first got in the studio and did an audio program, and I had no experience in speaking before I got on stage and spoke. So you get experience. You learn from trial and error, and then you get better. That's going to happen to you realistically, no matter what industry you get into. Even if you've got experience, you're going to go out and you're going to share whatever it is you're excited about. And guess what? Some people that you meet with aren't going to be excited. Maybe a lot of the people won't be excited when you first share it. And you'll learn from that. You'll get better at how you present and share what it is you're sharing. But the important thing to say here is that as you gain experience in this industry, as you do it more and more, you'll get better and better, and you'll have more and more fun. And as you have more success and you have more fun, it gets easier to share your experience with other people. And that's where you start to build real wealth. Earlier, we talked about the fact that your friends might be skeptical about you looking at this industry, much less getting into it. Why would our friends give us a hard time about this? Well, let's just be completely honest here. A lot of people spend a lot of their energy, I don't know why this is, telling us what we can't do. You know, a lot of people are actually raised to tell other people, you can't do this. Well, here's the great truth about life. Nobody knows what you can do. The only person who knows what you can do is you. And sometimes you have really great friends, and you even have really great family members, and even people at work that you love, that love you. But for whatever reason, when you share with them a new idea, they're not open to it. Therefore, they tell you that you shouldn't be open to it. And unfortunately, what that does for a lot of us is that keeps us stuck exactly where we are in life. And again, why do our friends do this to us? Well, often they want us to stay where we are in life because guess what? They don't want us to leave them. You know, people hate change. They see you changing. They're like, oh no, my friend's going to go off and do this. I don't think they should do this, and I don't want to go with them. Well, you got to focus on you. Again, maybe your friends don't support you. You just smile. Say, I understand. It might not be right for you, but it's right for me. I'm going to go check it out.
Now, you talk in your books about some of the benefits people will encounter once they get up and running with their home-based businesses. What are those?
Let me tell you a great truth that your employer doesn't want you to know. It's easier to get rich when you own your own business. Now, many people go, well, duh, of course it is. Well, no, not duh, of course it is. The reason it's easier to get rich if you own your own business doesn't necessarily have anything to do with your income. The reason it's easier to get rich if you own your own business is that the government gives enormous tax incentives to business owners to save more money. Let me give you an example. Right now, as we do this recording, if you're an employee, you can save $14,000 a year in a 401k plan. If you have your own business, on the other hand, the government will let you save this year, pre-tax, $41,000. That means before they take any taxes away from you, you can save up to $41,000 pre-tax in a self-employed retirement account. Now, that's an enormous tax advantage that an employee doesn't have. You're able to save almost 300% more than an employee can. But there's more. The government gives you the ability to take all types of tax deductions because you now have your own business. So you're able to write off an enormous amount of your expenses, provided that they're legitimate business expenses, from a home office to potentially a car, to some of your travel. Provided you do this legally, you're able to write off a lot of your expenses, which again, allow you to save money on taxes. Now, you may ask, why does the government let somebody who's self-employed save money on taxes? And the answer is, small business owners create the fuel that drives the economy. Small business owners go out and hire more employees. And they're the ones that are growing our economy. So the government wants to incentivize entrepreneurs. And that's why you, as an independent contractor, you get to take advantage of all of these things that small business owners get to take advantage of. And they're huge.
Great tax benefits. What else?
Specifically, you start to make new friends, usually other people that are entrepreneur-minded. And that's a lot of fun. You make your own hours. You control your own hours. And also, this is a business that really is great for families, and it's great for couples. Why? Because you can work on it together. We see families that work on this together because, again, it's flexible. So it's the kind of thing that you can do not just from your home, but you can also, in many cases, you can run it while you're on vacation. You can do it without commuting. So we see a lot of families and a lot of couples that really get into this industry and work as a team because of that flexibility. And that's pretty exciting. The last thing I think is really critical to talk about here, the idea of starting your own business with direct selling, is that growing your income does something that I think is really important, hopefully. And that is this extra income will ultimately allow you to worry less. And when I say worry less, I mean worry less about your future. Why is this so important? Well, again, when I wrote Start Late, Finish Rich, we did a lot of research. We went through all of AARP's research, but we also did our own research and our own survey. We hired Temple University to survey Americans to find out, are you worried about your finances? Are you starting late? How are you doing in America? And these surveys between AARP and our own are startling. What AARP has found over the last couple of years is that 1 out of 5 baby boomers right now has more than $25,000 in savings. So 80% of baby boomers right now have less than $25,000 in savings. And depending on whose research you look at, about 40% of baby boomers have literally nothing in savings. Now, I found that so hard to believe that, again, we went back to Temple University and we said, find out for us, really, what do Americans have? And we went out and we surveyed Americans, and here's what we found with our own survey for Start Late, Finish Rich. We found 70% of the people we surveyed were living paycheck to paycheck. 40% of the people we surveyed had less than $1,000 in savings. And so when we asked these people, are you worried about your finances? Obviously, the answer we got back from the bulk of them was yes. Very worried. And that's what AARP found out. AARP has found out that the single biggest concern baby boomers have right now is their finances. And it's the one thing that they're not optimistic about. So when I say starting your own business through direct selling can help you stop worrying, it can help you stop worrying if you make extra money, you earn more, and you save some of that money.
So, a person of any age can literally pay for his or her retirement by making as little as $500 a month? And that might happen fairly soon after he starts his home-based business?
First of all, let me say this. I never promise anything. The Automatic Millionaire, the first thing the book says is, I'm not promising to make you an automatic millionaire overnight. What I'm going to do is teach you some tools that you can use to build wealth over your lifetime. The real way, using real approaches that real people have used. Before you focus on how much money you're going to make, you need to do research into the industry, which I know you're doing right now. That's why you're listening to this audio tape. One of the organizations I talk about in Start Late, Finish Rich is the Direct Selling Association. You should go to their website. Honestly, you should do due diligence on the different companies that you're going to be looking at. How to determine if the company is legitimate. Do your own research on the industry. Do your own research on the company. As they say, cross all your T's and dot your I's. Because then when you make the decision, whoever you go with, you're going to feel good about the fact that you checked everything out before you got in. And that will give you, by the way, more confidence when you go to share your message, your product, or your service with other people. You should get into a company that you believe in so that you're excited about the product, that you use the product, or you're excited about the service and you use the service. Now, why is that so important? It's really simple. Passion sells. You're going to stay energized to keep doing what you're doing when the going gets tough if you really believe in what it is you're doing. If you're telling your friend about a product or service and you don't use it, you don't believe in it, guess what? Your friend is not going to be buying that product or service. Either is the stranger, either is the coworker, either is anybody you present to. On the other hand, if you live and breathe the product or service that you're talking about, it sells itself almost. What's critical, I think, really critical, is that you pick a company that has a product or service that you're not just interested in, but you're passionate about. And that means not just that you think that this product or service will sell right now because it's the right product at the right time, but that you really love this product or service, that you are using this product or service. Because bottom line is, people can tell when there's integrity behind what you say. You can tell, listen to me, I'm passionate about teaching people about how to be smarter with their money. If I wasn't passionate about it, if I didn't live and breathe this, you wouldn't be interested in what I have to say.
Sounds like a great idea, but it really could be a step outside the comfort zone for a lot of people. It's almost easier to stay safe and keep worrying about your fate in life than to actually pick up the phone and make a move toward changing it, you know?
Your point's really well taken, and it makes me think back to my grandmother. My first book, Smart Women Finish Rich, was a book I dedicated to my grandma, Rose Bach, because my grandmother was an amazing woman who started with nothing at the age of 30, poor, decided she wanted to be a millionaire, and taught herself how to invest. And over her lifetime became a self-made millionaire, and then went on to teach her whole family how to invest and really raise an entire generation of millionaires because of a decision that she made. At the age of 86, my grandmother, who had been incredibly healthy, had a stroke. And she lived in Leisure World, California, and we lived up in the Bay Area in California. And we went down, we picked her up, and we got her on the plane, and we brought her back to the Bay Area because we had to take her to a nursing care facility. And on that flight back, I was just finishing writing Smart Women Finish Rich. And I said to my grandmother, "You've been my mentor all my life. Grandmother, do you have any regrets?" She said, "No, David, I don't have any regrets. You know what? I've lived a full life. I had a wonderful marriage to your grandfather, Jack." And I said, "Okay, great." And I didn't really ask her about it anymore. The next day when I saw her at the hospital, she said, "David, you know what? I was up all night thinking about your question to me because I couldn't fall asleep the more I thought about it." And she said, "You know what? I do have regrets. I wasn't honest with you." The more I thought about my life, here I am at the age of 86, and I've had a great life. But she said, "You know what? My regrets are pretty clear. I can think of a handful of times in my life where I came to a fork in the road." And she said, at that fork in the road, I really had a choice. I could go left, which was the safe route, where I could pretty much see the outcome. She said, or I could go right, which was the more risky route, the one where I wasn't really sure what would happen, but I could kind of see if I went that route and things worked out, there would be more gold, more joy, and really more opportunity. And she said, during my lifetime, every time I came to that fork in the road, these 5 times, she said, I went left. I took the safe route. David, all I can tell you is this. She says, now I won't know what could have happened if I had gone the riskier route. And she looked at me and she said, if I can give you one last lesson, David, she said, it's this. You're going to come to a fork in the road. And she says, when you get there, there's going to be a person inside of you, a little boy, that's going to be screaming almost, saying, David, go right, take the risk. And there's going to be a big boy inside of you. And that big boy is going to be saying, take the safe route. And she said, if I can give you a gift, my last lesson to you, David, is she's like, take more risk and let the little boy come out and play. And she said, you should share that message with more people. She said, because I wish I had let my little girl come out and play. And I share that story with you because right now I don't know what it is you really want to do with your life. I don't know what led you to listen to this audio program, but I'm willing to bet right now that truthfully, there's a little boy or little girl inside of you, and that part of that little boy or little girl inside of you is the reason you're listening to this audio program. And there's a part of you that's saying to yourself right now, you know what, I want to go take some risk. I want to do more with my life than I'm doing. I want to make more money. I want to do more things. And there's also a big boy or a big girl inside of you right now going through all the rational reasons why it's not safe. And by the way, there's a lot of other big boys and big girls around you. There are your parents and your friends and your coworkers and the strangers that you don't even know. They're all out there right now, quite frankly, telling you all the reasons why you should go the safe route and stay exactly where you are. Maybe for you, you want to go through your whole life and take the safe route. I can tell you that for me, since my grandmother told me that story, it's changed my life because I consistently am taking more risk. And not everything always works out. But I am finding out personally that there's a lot more joy when you take the riskier route. So my suggestion to you is that when you turn off this audio program, take a few minutes, maybe the rest of the day for that matter, and think about your life and say, you know what if I got to be age 86? What would I regret? And if I can give you a gift, it would be this. Let your little boy or little girl come out and play in whatever is in life that really matters to you. I think you'll see it makes a huge difference.
David, great story. Very inspirational. Thank you so much for sharing some fantastic advice today. And with the information you've just given us here and in your books, we can all be on the road to becoming automatic millionaires.
Well, first of all, thank you. I hope that today I've shared with you some ideas that whether you go forward in the direct selling industry or not, there's some ideas that you got today that you can use to both live and finish rich and take your life to the next step. God bless you.
For more information about starting your own business, please contact the person who gave you this audio program. Please note that David Bach is an independent businessperson and educator. While he does not endorse any specific direct selling company, he recognizes the value of the opportunities offered by the direct selling industry.